From the center of the galaxy, this is ForceCenter, show about Star Wars pop culture, the ultimate adventure, life itself. I'm Ken Napzok.
I'm Joseph Scrimshaw, and we are happy to be here with our Cues of the Force episode. Ken, somebody reminded us on YouTube or in the chat that we always used to make a thing of you give us the cues and we'll have the A's. And then
That's true.
A strange list of what our A's might be, like aspect ratio. So anyway, try to bring that back.
Q's and A's. Yes.
That's right.
Here we are. We're here. We are here to talk some Star Wars questions. We got two questions here today, and we're going to dive into that. Before that, we always like to remind you what our show is sponsored by, and it is our own merch shop on Fourth Wall. Check out our merch store. Pick up a T-shirt to help support the show and represent Force Center out in the galaxy with a shirt, a hat, a coaster. You know, just carry the coaster. No drink. Just show the coaster everywhere like a business card.
Throw it.
Yeah, throw it. ForceCenter Ninja Stars. There you go. That's what we'll add to the thing here. Head on over to ForceCenter-shop.fourthwall.com. That's ForceCenter-shop.fourthwall.com. Links down below if you're watching here on YouTube. I realize this, I'm saying ForceCenter-shop. That is an actual dash. Put the dash between ForceCenter and shop. Maybe for months now, people have been typing dash. Our audience is smarter than that. Maybe I'm the problem. So that is our sponsor for today. But we're also highlighting where you can find us.
That is right. You can find us on Blue Sky and Threads. And between Ken and I, we are managing to remember to post about 50% as much as we should. But we are posting a little bit more often, trying to be more active. I love social media, and I spend a decent amount of time on Blue Sky, but it is just kind of, it is hard to spend the amount of time that one wants to, because it is, so, I just got one more little thing to do. But we're trying to spend more time there. So join us on Blue Sky and Threads.
Yeah, indeed. I still spend, I think Blue Sky is my social spot to just go to catch in on things and news and friends. But trying to get back to Threads in terms of promotion, and someone in my life now who is a social media manager and PR kind of expert is like, if you're not on Threads, you're not getting your word out right now. And I'm like, I don't want to face that fact. I don't want to face that fact. So we're trying. Joseph and I are trying. Trying.
Threads, man. Threads. I know some people like it, but it's like, I think I would enjoy it very much if it didn't force you to see, you have to click the button to just see the people that you actually follow. So every time I open it, it's just a string of the 7 most outrageous weird takes.
Yes.
Designed to make me go, what? And it works far too often.
Yeah. And if you're on Instagram, and you've mentioned this before with that little preview where you're like, now I have to click to find out the rest of that sentence. That's how they get you. That is how they get you. Well, that's where you can find us. That's where we'll be. That's where we're trying to spread the word. And thanks to all those longtime listeners and new watchers on YouTube. You can do all the things that sometimes get, just said cynically or cliche from folks like us, broadcasters, hosts, creators, whatever you want to call us. But liking the video, leaving a nice comment, hyping it up on YouTube. All those things do truly help as we continue to grow here in 2026 here at Force Center. But one of the things that makes us really proud to still be going so long is our wonderful community. And Joseph, their deep dive-in questions.
That's right. Here are the cues, and they will be followed by some A's. Our first question is from Patreon member Lightspeed Bear, and we encourage people to share why they are asking the question. So sometimes we have questions that are a little bit in an essay format where people are sharing some stuff, and that is the deal here today with Lightspeed Bear. So here we go. Hey, Force Center. Hope you're all doing well. I had an amazing time at Celebration last year, right up until the end of day 2, when a couple of guys walking ahead of me repeatedly pointed at and mocked the written and directed by Ryan Johnson t-shirt I was wearing, laughing to themselves without even having the courtesy to engage with me directly. It really bummed me out. I can write it off as 2 jerks who don't deserve a second thought, but it fed into a feeling I've been having for a while now, that maybe the current state of Star Wars fandom and even the franchise itself just isn't for me anymore. I grew up with the original trilogy and will always adore it, but I'm also a huge fan of the sequels. The Last Jedi is my favorite Star Wars film, and all 3 films in general bring me so much joy. Conversely, the prequels and the Clone Wars era in general have never connected with me. Lately, though, it feels like the latter is what the majority of online chatter and fandom want to talk about. I'm often hesitant to even mention my love for the sequels because I see them torn apart so relentlessly. I'm a huge Starfighter action pilot story fan, but lately it feels like that's nowhere to be found in current, mostly Force user focused projects. There's still so much Star Wars I absolutely do respond to: Andor, Solo, Rebels, The Bad Batch, Skeleton Crew. But with Dave taking over the creative side, I can't shake the sense that the focus has shifted toward a version of Star Wars in a fandom conversation that just doesn't jive with me personally. I felt like I was the only person in the room at Celebration who wasn't cheering excitedly at the reveal of the mall show. I'm thrilled that so many people can find happiness at its release, but personally, I probably won't even watch it. To be clear, this is a me problem, but my question is this: how do you stay emotionally connected to Star Wars when the version of it that speaks most to you feels out of step with where the franchise and the fandom conversation currently are or likely headed? Sorry to be a downer. Would love to hear your thoughts. Keep up the great work. Thank you, Lightspeed Bear, for the great question and for sharing how you're feeling. I'm sure there are plenty of people out there who feel like literally exactly the same way as you do with your preferred parts of Star Wars. And I think even people out there who are like maybe flip from you. OT and sequels, they can take or leave, but they love the prequel era. They have certainly had times where they feel that the conversation is not for them as well. So I think this is not a downer. I think it's a very relatable question that all sorts of people go through in all sorts of fandoms. So I think it's a great thing to talk about. Ken, what are your big picture thoughts about Lightspeed Bear's essay and experience?
Yeah, I get it. I understand, even though maybe on a personal basis, I haven't experienced this as much. I've been pretty open about Ahsoka being the only series that I really, really struggled with, but that doesn't mean I didn't have other struggles along the way. In fact, ForceCenter has always been a spot where I'll show up and be like, Joseph, I don't like those colored speeders that where I didn't like them. And then at the end of the episode, like, okay, I see them differently and actually I kind of like them. And then maybe might even defend them. I think that's part of the fun of it. But I think what Lightspeed Bear is saying, um, is kind of the bigger conversations around fandom that you and I have shared. I make references to these bar fights I almost get into and all this stuff, and that's a little bit of me broadcasting a little aspect of my life into a bigger way. But it's very real, and it's something I feel. And um, as far as when things aren't connecting, how do you stay connected? I think just taking a breath and realizing this particular thing might not be for you, but we're blessed in an era to be just have new Star Wars coming at you all the time, and you can find a little corner to crawl into. And in terms of the things you like, first of all, the whole story here is a bummer if you're at Star Wars Celebration in a Ryan Johnson T-shirt and that happens. I know there's folks at Star Wars Celebration who don't love all angles and aspects and arenas of Star Wars, but it just seems like that's the one spot we always preach: the fandom comes together, and then to have that there, hey, it is what it is. But anyways,
Yeah,
yeah,
go ahead.
yeah, I'll pitch it back to you, but instead just like finding the corner and just being able to tune out when you can, if you're allowed. It's harder for us here in Force Center because this is what we do.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll quickly look at Rings of Power. I love Rings of Power as a show. I know a lot of Tolkien fans and Lord of the Rings fans don't love it as much, and that bummed me out. That bums me out when I can't discuss it as much in public or even on a YouTube channel. The Tolkien folks show up. They're pretty vicious, I will say. They're pretty vicious. If you even like something that isn't in line with the Tolkien's word, and it's frustrating because the Tolkien family was involved with Rings of Power specifically to tell Amazon along the way what they cannot do. That was what they were on set going, nope, you don't have those rights. Nope, you don't have those rights. You need to push it more away from Tolkien's actual words. So it was kind of frustrating conversation to have. But my point being, I'll hand it back to you, Joseph, is I was able to find a little warm corner that was for me and not engage with the rest. So maybe that's possible.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I am bummed out to hear about people being jerks at Celebration because
Yeah.
normally it is, quite celebratory, and
Mhm.
I'm sure Lightspeed Bear, perceived accurately what was happening, but a part of me, was like, "Uh, is it possible there was mustard on Lightspeed Bear shirt? Is there possible somebody was,
Yeah.
dressed as Jar Jar and tripping behind him? Because I just really want to believe that Celebration can continue to be a positive place where you're not going to get harangued
Yeah.
for liking something. Again, not doubting, but it's just it's a bummer. And I think there's two things going on in Lightspeed Bear's thoughts. the people mocking at a thing called Celebration is the kind of the thing that I think bugs me the most. Of like, I'm totally cool with it if you don't like a part of Star Wars that I like. It's really annoying when I can't express liking something without having other people tell me actively I shouldn't like it. Like, I already met you halfway. I already said I like it, and I totally understand it's not for you. And then to have people go like, but it's bad and you shouldn't like it either. And I definitely feel that way about, some elements of the sequel trilogy. Like, I'm just not going to post online that about certain elements of it because I just don't want to hear the pushback. So to me, there's a difference between like, hey, I am trying to meet you halfway and go, it's fine if you don't like it, but I like it, is one thing. But then there's this other thing of like, that Lightspeed Bear is talking about, of like, I'm not personally enjoying Star Wars. How do I refine myself in it? And for me, I think just really embracing and almost making it a study, a curiosity of what is for you and what isn't for you. There are parts of Ahsoka I struggled with, and there are parts of Acolyte that I struggled with, and it helped me so much to hear from other people what they liked. And some of the things made me go like, oh, I should look at it in a different way. And other things made me go, I just think about a lot in terms of the fandom, not in terms of like the art or even my opinion of it. It's not like, ooh, somebody pointed out a secret thing in Acolyte or Ahsoka that I didn't see. It's just, wow, that really doesn't work for me. And I really understand my reasons why, but it works for all these other people, which must mean that art is entirely subjective. And it is fun for me to think about, why do they like it? There's no movie fights, who's right, who's wrong about it. It's just sort of interesting to appreciate differences in human beings. And I think, if somebody's like not excited for Maul, totally understandable. I think that's just kind of an opportunity to almost think about humanity through the lens of fandom, of why am I not excited about it? Why is somebody else excited about it? And there's no need to resolve the schism. It's just okay to be different, and I think that we say that a lot. You and I were raised by, Sesame Street and Mr. Rogers telling us it's okay to be different. It's one thing to like learn that and repeat it. It's a different thing to internalize it and live with it,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Mr. Rogers didn't cover. Now let's talk about Star Wars fandom. He didn't. He should have. Maybe he did. Yeah, no, I like what you're saying here too. And there's Lightspeed Bear brings up a lot of things here that I can understand. And maybe there's something to be said for focusing on the parts that you do love, and that makes sense. I'm trying to think of examples for me, my own fandoms, where I started to pull off or think something wasn't for me. Like the closest I go to, like, I love House of Dragon, but I don't love it as much. And I had to kind of like tell myself that at one point, that it was okay, that I'm not rewatching it with the same vigor that I watched Game of Thrones, especially the first couple seasons when you got a lot more humor and everything. But that's a little different because I still liked it, right? I still was in it. I don't know. I've lost love for other things. Sports and stuff like that, and I just find the areas of it that I still like enjoy and stick there, and then give myself the permission, if that makes sense, to be okay with not liking all of it or not liking it as much. I don't know if that's exactly what Lightspeed Bear's talking about, but maybe someone else is out there. So, like, for instance, for me, like, a big baseball fan, and I used to, if podcasting was a thing in 1996, I'd be a baseball podcaster. I wouldn't be a Star Wars podcaster. But I had to realize at some point I pulled off of it. I didn't watch as much. I still love the sport. But I felt bad. I felt like I was mad at myself. Like, your 21-year-old self would not believe who you've become. You don't even know who's the starting lineup for the New York Yankees anymore. And I'd be okay with that, right? I'm one of those Beatles nuts, those very unoriginal Beatles nuts who's like, here's the track running order of the British release of Rubber Soul. And then I had to, once that stuff kind of went away, I had to be okay with that and just enjoy what I do love about it and know that I don't need to challenge myself anymore. And if Lightspeed Bear, I don't know if that directly translates, but if Lightspeed Bear's like, hey, I love the sequels, I love the OT, I'm just going to stay there. I'm going to stay in that kind of world. I don't know if that connects at all or if you have any examples like that. in
No,
your own
I
life?
I feel very strongly about that. Different fandoms, but Star Wars in specific. Of
Mhm.
I understand what Lightspeed Bear is saying. Of like you want to be excited with everybody else about the new stuff and the stuff that's happening right now and in the conversation. And it's a bummer if some of the projects that are getting made are just not your vibe.
Yeah.
But Star Wars is so rich and so deep, and I've certainly had times where like it's not even that I didn't like a new Star Wars project, but it was sort of burdened by the discourse around it. And
Yeah.
I'm not always immune to the like it's different now. When we were young, it was this rare, elusive thing, and it was far more tip of the iceberg storytelling. There's so much to imagine. And we live in a different world now where every inquisitor, we're going to find out what happened to them and how many times they died and when they were turned into a green gas bag and like all
Mhm.
that stuff. And sometimes it's just sometimes I kind of just yearn to go back to the simpler days of Star Wars, not because they're better, but just because they're different and when I came in. So throughout the years of doing ForceCenter, sometimes I'm like, wait, I'm going to engage with the new stuff now, but for any private time, I'm going to watch a documentary
Mhm.
about the original trilogy, or I'm just going to focus on the action figures because I love the action figures and I joined action figure groups and
Mhm. Mhm.
you know find old images of now which figure came out with which and where were the design changes, or sometimes just like I'm just want to go look at all the different poster designs of Empire Strikes Back and when they came out. And like I think one of the great things about Star Wars is if the thing that isn't the newest hottest thing isn't resonating with you, you can go online and you can find people who just want to nerd out about crafts or the history of cups, physical
Mhm.
from Taco Bell cup toppers to the
Mhm.
solo Dixie cups. Like you could just be like, you know what, for a month, I'm just going to be a Dixie cup guy,
That's my
and
thing.
I'm gonna find those people online, and that's going to be my.
Mm.
I would say for Lightspeed Bear, I'm so did such a great job detailing the different Star Wars stories that speak to Lightspeed Bear. But I would love to know, like, what are the other parts of Star Wars? Are you a video gamer, a board gamer? Do you like toys? Do you like making crafts? Do you like making models? Do you like
Mm.
fan art?
Mm.
Um, what of the ways that Star Wars jumps off the screen can you spend time with to keep your love alive? Because that's definitely been a thing for me.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, and just spending time with it, maybe in a way you didn't. We're doing the favorite scenes ranked kind of run right now, and that kind of sent me back to actually watching the films. And that over the last year I haven't watched as much. All of them.
Hmm.
You know, just we've been busy, all those kind of things. And there was a point in time where Solo was always on in my house. I just had it in the background, and that kind of stopped for the last couple of years. I'd say it's been fun to actually sit and watch A New Hope. I'm pretty
Hmm.
familiar with that film. I've been around it. Um,
Right?
and it kind of surprised me a little bit of like, oh, how much fun. And because I immediately started watching Empire, even though you and I were reviewing that for like 3 more weeks or whatever. I'm like, I can keep going in. And you know, someone once years ago described marriage to me, which I've never been married. So tell me if this is right, Joseph. But they said, hey, marriage or love is about every 10 years you roll over and you have to re-fall in love with this new person in front of you, which just to me speaks to growth and change,
Hmm.
and that the things that got you there are going to be a little different, and the scars and the histories and the connections are going to be, are changing, are life changing. And Star Wars has been around long enough. We have about every 10 years to turn around and roll around and be like, who is this? Who is this thing? And Lightspeed Bear, maybe you can do that. We could talk about some of the Dave stuff he brought up, but I don't know if that is accurate at all. Not being married.
Yeah. Yes, yes, yes. No, I think yeah, marriage. But I think any relationship, right?
Mm-hmm.
You get frustrated, and it's easy to lash out at the ones you love, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Because
yeah,
they're
true.
there. A best friend, a parent, a spouse, a favorite fandom. I think maybe that's sometimes
Yeah.
some of the anger in the vitriol of like Star Wars has been right there next to me all this time, and now it kind of hurt my feelings, and now I'm gonna be kind of angry at it, and like just go back,
Mm-hmm.
go
Mm-hmm.
back to those young days and rekindle that magic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
totally natural.
yeah. And look, I got to be honest. I had a bit of a reaction during the Ahsoka days. Again, the strike was going on. We had stopped. We were doing other center. Like the future was uncertain. The future is still uncertain, not for the podcast necessarily. We're trying to survive, but just all of our careers, everything. I have to admit, and maybe Lightspeed Bear, this is something you can connect with, but like the positive vibes we've worked so hard to create and still work hard to create. I was like sick of them almost. Like, I was like, just let me not like this show. I just needed to go away for a bit and be, stew in it. And also, by the way, I like the show more than I think maybe even I realized, because I focused on the things on a rewatch, focused on the things I like, Balin Skull and all that kind of stuff. So anyways, I don't know.
Yeah. And I'm excited to revisit, excited for season 2. Yeah, so about the sort of, we're going to talk more on our next question about the future of Star Wars. I definitely get what Lightspeed Bear is saying about more things being Force user centered.
Yep.
But I really don't feel like Filoni is going to say my style of Star Wars is the Star Wars that needs to be out there. I don't. I just don't think that's good business, and we'll talk more about what might be coming from Star Wars. What I will say about what Lightspeed Bear is saying, one of the things Lightspeed Bear mentioned, being a fan of pilots, Starfighter action pilot stories. I would always say, Ken, that my favorite personally is the Starfighter. Or not Starfighter, is being a Jedi.
Right.
I'm a Force user fan.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't even call myself really like a Starfighter fan. But I am so invested in the movie Starfighter, giving people good starfighting, because I have such empathy for people like Lightspeed Bear and Alex Damon and other people we've heard from over the years who are like, but please, anything for just a battle in space. We get like a few seconds of it in Disney Plus shows, but please. It is one of the most major ingredients of Star Wars, going back to the original film.
It is.
That has not been high in the mix is an ingredient. It's not been high in the stew. And there was the tease of Patty Jenkins was going to make this movie that answered that desire. And like, I don't want to get pre-cranky, but I will be extremely frustrated, vexed, if they make a film called Starfighter and they mean, we meant that in general, like he's fighting in the stars. Like, get that man in a ship, dogfights, space, starfighting.
Yeah.
I'm not even a huge Starfighter fan, and I need it for my friends.
Yeah. I have that thought because we know there's maybe a lightsaber, and we know that. That's not surprising. But I have that thought of like it's just this name, right? There he goes, a former starfighter. He's not starfighting now, but he used to. Yeah, I could see that.
Remember when we fought in the stars? Yeah.
I agree with you. And look, I'm someone over the years whose focus was a little bit more on the war side of it, because that was the thing that I had fun reenacting on the playgrounds or with my action figures in the backyard. I was a G.I. Joe fan. So, I liked military propaganda cartoons apparently, but I also just liked taking the troops out in the yard. I love, the Hoth battle is just, it pulled me in, terrified. That walker leg, that's just a foundational building block section of Star Wars for me. So I totally get it. Over the years, I think I have seen the Force or the Force use in a different way, where to me, talking about the Force or the Force being in Star Wars shows and comics and books and games and everything is just another way to talk about life. It is a pathway to a philosophical conversation, or in times a therapeutic conversation about Star Wars. And that's why I gravitate to those stories almost more than I do the fighting. Andor showed me that, hey, you can use the Force directly in a sparing manner, but I would argue the Force is kind of everywhere. But whether Cassian was guided by the Force is not what I mean. But it shows up with the Force healer, shows up late, but it felt right. And then I realized I didn't miss it through Andor as much as maybe I thought I would going in. So, anyways, I'm rambling here to say, I feel you on that. But and in terms of the Dave thing, I think we've talked about it before. I know there's these rumors that go around. There's reports that come out from sources with inside informational stuff that Dave doesn't like Andor. Even if that's 100% true, and I can believe it's true, I can understand that, right? That Dave's like, Matt, not my kind of Star Wars, because he's a fan too.
Mm-hmm.
The Ghost of Plo Koon was not an Andor, so I don't like it. There's just and maybe this doesn't soothe Lightspeed Bear or anyone else who feels this, because I know there's others that feel this way. That, like you said, there is just, in my mind, no way you get that job, sit for any interviews or whatever you got to do with the higher ups or the boards or, everyone involved in the process to make this a reality, and be like, it's my way or the highway in terms of stories. Dave, I think, has always shown the ability to meet creators and storytellers where they're at and to ask why or why not. That's shown up a lot in interviews. And if that's not true and everything else it becomes a reality, and Dave sits on a throne and says, nope, only this, really, then we'll know it and the brand will suffer. I just don't think he's going to take that position and not be open to the great storytellers out there.
Yeah. And I feel like as a fan, he might, I have no doubt he has his preferences for the kind of Star Wars he gravitates to the most. But I think he also is in touch with the fandom enough to know, like, when there's a big element of Star Wars that hasn't been getting a lot of attention, like starfighting, and I think wanting to put some focus on that. Last thing from Lightspeed Bear's essay that I would like to address is the pain, the relative pain of being a sequel fan right now. I think the clock is ticking, and I think the conversation is going to change. Like, it is wild, unbelievable to me. The situation we're in right now, which I think Lightspeed Bear analyzes in a way I agree with. Of like, it's a lot of prequel era and a lot of Clone Wars, because that era was either despised or ignored, and the company realized, oh wait, nope. And I think I think the prequel fans and the Clone Wars era fans who have long been denied are making the most of their time on the top of the mountain. And I would include myself among them. But I also love the sequels, and we know from experience, time changes things. The people who were alive and certain or the exact right age to be grumpy when they came out, there's still grumps who are like, I guess everybody likes Hayden now, but those movies are bad. Like, their voices are just drowned out by more joy, and I think that's going to happen with the sequel trilogy.
Yeah. Without naming names, some of them are big comics, but along our daily and weekly journeys for the Star Wars fandom, you and I and Jennifer run into online, run into those folks with the old jokes about Star Wars that are so baked in Gen X snark and cynicism that you're just kind of like, and those are, they're still present. They always will be. Yeah.
But I think the days of people stickering at a Rian Johnson t-shirt are they're numbered. We'll see about the response to a J.J. Abrams t-shirt, though. That might be harder, because man, people are not kind to that man.
No, they aren't. Maybe different question for another day, but and I get it, Lightspeed Bear, and we all of us, not just me, Joseph, and Jennifer, but even those in the ForceCenter Discord, do share stories of you hate that moment when someone, oh, you like Star Wars, eh? And you're like, oh, what comes next? It's going to either ruin my day or make my day better. And I've been fortunate to have some moments lately that have been good, even in other fandoms too. I had a recent conversation of again, Rings of Power. I'm not here to debate it or get into it. I loved it. I loved the second season. I think it was really good. I don't compare it to any books or partial books that have come before that the Tolkien estate gave the right to. The show moved me. And I was able to find someone who was like, oh yeah, no, I love that show. And it feels good. So maybe it makes the bad stuff, the snickerings, Lightspeed Bear. Maybe they make the good times even more better.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. In fact, this short film that I'm finishing editing that I shot just a little while ago, the person saw some Star Wars stuff where we were filming, and is like, "Wow, you love Star Wars," and I felt bad because I went kind of hard. I was polite, but it's like, "Yeah, we have a Star Wars podcast," and so oftentimes when people say they love Star Wars, they immediately follow it up with all the new parts of Star Wars that they don't like, which is really exhausting. And then had a very nice time working with the person, and I felt guilty. So I was like, all right, what part of Star Wars? You can tell me what part of Star Wars you don't like. And he's like, oh, the sequels aren't really for me. And he left it at that. He's like, the sequels aren't really for me. It's like, oh, I get it.
Yeah.
And he's like, but man, the Clone Wars. So we talked all about the Clone Wars animated series. And yeah, it's so good.
I'll take the blame because you were shooting in my house. And so the conversation started with them looking at too many Star Wars books at a shelf. Going, And I was like, Joseph, and I do a Star Wars podcast. And then I left. And then I left you with it.
And I overheard him. He was like, I could tell they were serious because this guy has Thrawn books.
Oh my gosh! And then he didn't. Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
That's funny that would be the example where I'm like,
yeah.
there we go.
Like Thrawn just fine. So Lightspeed Bear, thank you. We kind of covered lots of ground, but big picture answer your question. I don't think it's a downer. I think it's natural to ebb and flow, and I think you should just find what you love and spend some time with. And if it's the OT or the sequels, and watch the making of, get some toys, do some crafts, whatever pleases you. Do you make beer? Make a custom Rose Tico beer. Whatever you love, just dive into it, and feel free to report to us. And because we don't always need to be locked in the moment on ForceCenter. I like talking about the old ways. I like hearing from people who are like, I'm a font Star Wars nerd, and did you know this about all the fonts? Like whatever you love, start the conversation with us. Let us know what you're finding to enjoy if the Star Wars moment right now isn't for you.
There you go. Yeah, absolutely.
All right, moving on to Boombox Music Talk. Now, we always put forward this offer for essays, and some people are like, I'm good. And that's the way Boombox Music Talk is feeling. They say, short one here. What kind of projects are you most excited for with the change in leadership? So here we have an opportunity to talk a little bit about what we think might be coming, the change in leadership, but also, not the fears, but the joys, the excitement. So where do you go with this, Ken?
I go with, it's hard to separate any excitement for projects that are currently in development or unknown publicly or might return from the dead in the case of Hunt for Ben Solo. I'm excited about all of those. I think it goes without saying, and this was a conversation I had this weekend too. I have not forgotten about a new Jedi Order Rey-led film. I still want something. I'm still hopeful. Other people don't agree with me and will be very direct in telling me how I'm wrong about having hope about that. Still have that, but I think I'm looking at just the future in general, not necessarily a Dave thing. I have really connected with the Night of the Seven Kingdoms, the latest Game of Thrones series, because of its smaller stakes. Now, if you know the lore, there's some stuff that happens in it that literally shapes the kingdom going forward for the next 150, 200 years. Or 150 years. Someone will yell at me about that math too. But what I loved about it, what everyone gravitated was the smaller stakes, where it was an intimate story focused mostly around two people. And it was off in this little corner, and no one was necessarily worrying about dragons or thrones or all these kind of big things. No great menace was coming down from the north. All these things that I think fueled a great story and fuels a great story in a book series that's still going. But I think people gravitated to that, and you were allowed to maybe have a little more humor. You were allowed to, spend time, even though it was only 6 episodes, and the episodes were short. You never felt cheated by it. Maybe that's my experience, but it just was heartwarming, and it was powerful in this smaller way. I would love to see Star Wars explore that more. I think we've gotten parts of that and examples of that. I think there's moments in Bad Batch that are small and intimate, related to Omega and her newfound family. I think Rebels has those moments, but there's still kind of the bigger picture there. So I don't know what part of the galaxy you could set it in. I don't know if it's something new. And maybe Starfighter has some of that. Maybe it's a big epic film, I think, still. So maybe that's not what I mean. But if we're gonna, if we're gonna go with forward more live action shows or even animated, of course, that would be a solid thing as well. I would like to see that explored. Something smaller, just right there, narrow focused on 2 or 3 characters and their relationship as they grow and move through the galaxy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I really agree with that. I would love something in that shape. Um, what is the name of the Game of Thrones egg and
Duncan Egg,
stew?
yeah, Night of Night of the Seven Kingdoms.
That is Seven Kingdoms.
Yeah.
Duncan Egg.
Duncan Egg, the Duncan Egg series. Yeah. Exactly.
Great. I'm gonna watch that one because people have been thrilled about it.
Yeah.
There's been this really interesting rumble in fandom with that show coming out around the same time as Wonder Man, which
Mm-hmm.
I watched as well and was fantastic.
Mm.
Marvel is putting it out as one of their spotlight shows, which is basically they're just a show where they're trying to claim you don't need to know as much canon, which is true. But it's very similar. It's intimate. It's mostly about 2 characters, and the stakes for those humans are massive. So we feel the stakes.
Mm-hmm.
And I think sometimes it's underestimated how much a part of the fandom is we just like the world, we like the mood, we like the texture, we like the sort of reality of it. Wonder Man does an excellent job of the way the story is structured. You are almost never far away from the idea of superheroes and superpowers. But so you're still in that world, you're still feeling it, but it's just an intimate story. And it sounds like it's very similar with the Game of Thrones show, where it's like the power and the strangeness and the intrigue of that world is present in the background, so you enjoy being in it, but you're there for this intimate character relationship.
Yeah, completely. Absolutely.
Yeah. So I think if I could just make a dream come true, I would love them to launch a Disney Plus show with a commitment of 3 seasons, unless there's some catastrophe. Just come on, risk it. What's the absolute worst that can happen? And let us get to know characters. I think one of the powers of Skeleton Crew was it was also a little bit smaller and intimate,
Right.
and we just got to know those kids.
Great point.
Some people didn't like the kids, and some people really like to tell me that at bars.
I was like, it's kids. Like, lay off the kids, man. They're great.
Look, it just needs to be about this intimate group's needs. You could set it during the High Republic. You could set it, set it during the year long conflict between the First Order and in the New Republic, or the remains of the New Republic, the Resistance. A small, scrappy group who needs something and needs to survive and needs to go from point A to point B, and just let us connect with the characters over a long period of time. And plan it, not necessarily scripted, every little thing, but plan it production wise. So there's only a year in between. And there isn't that you're waiting and wondering the whole time. Just, like a television show, like television used to do, where you're allowed to form a relationship with a small, intimate group of characters. And those are the stakes. I do think Star Wars is missing that. I think Mando and Grogu, I think Mandalorian was that up to a point.
I agree.
But with that intimate relationship between Din and Grogu, but then the spiraling out to larger connections and longer gaps in between shows, I think took a little bit of that energy away. But really, like that Skeleton Crew level of like, this small group of people are from this culture, this system of planets. And like, you can invent a system of planets that we've never heard of who have an intricate, rich history. And it, like Skeleton Crew, it can lightly touch the big picture. Like, Yeah, you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, I do. And Skeleton Crew is a great example. I mean, it remains a favorite for me. And if I'm competing in an episode of Movie Fights, that might be my answer is my favorite live action television show. And I might be soon. Actually, we'll see. Stand by. They've brought it back. But you mentioned the first season of Mando. I think that is what happened, right? It was
Hmm.
smaller, it was them, and it made people. We just come off the Skywalker saga, or we're in the middle of it. Actually, Mando, of course, dropped before. And for whatever reason, I don't fully agree with it or understand it, but I acknowledge that it's a reality where some folks just like to have. I don't want to feel like the homework thing. I don't want it to be the grand scales. I don't want chosen ones to be around. I don't want all that. And even though, Grogu as the Force and there's big implications and all that, season one was very much about that. It was Lone Wolf and Cub, but it was two characters in the world around them. And I think naturally those stories get bigger. Night of Seven Kingdoms is going to get a little bigger as it goes forward. And by the way, it
Hmm.
already is locked season 2 and season 3, and it's going.
Nice.
And it's going to be there next year. So I'm looking forward to that. But yeah, I think you just made me think of part of the reason that was the joy of Mandalorian and Grogu in their adventures
Hmm.
in season 1.
Yeah, and I know from all the interviews that this is always Favreau and Filoni's intent to kind of spread out into the larger galaxy,
Right.
starting in season 2, just like it was always Lucas's plan to tell a more political story in the prequels. And I
Yeah.
feel bad for creators of like, I can't wait for you guys to see part 2 that I've been planning since the beginning, and everybody's like, boo, we don't want part 2.
Boo. Bow down to the Queen of Rome. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
and I think it's the Mandalorian storytelling connecting to bigger ideas and themes and characters and legacy things. I think is a part of what makes it great and what it's always been intended to do. But I also feel for the people who are like, I don't know any of those characters, and I just wanted to stick with Mando and Grogu. So I think
Yeah,
doing
I get it.
something that does that would be fantastic. The other kind of creative thing that I would love to see in movies, Disney Plus, um, we'll see how Maul goes over. But if Maul hits, and Maul's really specific, right? It looks
Mhm.
like it's going to be a crime show, a horror show, a noir show. Certainly the first
Mhm.
show that is a Darksider is the main character. It's not going to be pro Darkside, but a Darksider is the main character. You've had that. You had Andor. It was like, let us dig into the war over lore. Let's dig into
Mhm. Mhm.
the political and the real salt of the earth galaxy. How are people being affected? um I would love more shows that are just, or stories that are just, we're going to go all in on this genre. I
Mhm.
think the 2 films that they have coming out, Mandalorian, Grogu, and Starfighter, both feel like they're doing their best to capture the magic of Star Wars, of like, it's part fantasy, it's part sci-fi, it's part mythic adventure. It's got comedy, it's got heart, it's got drama, it's got a little bit of horror and terror. It's got a little bit of everything. That's great. But also I think we've just seen the sort of power of like, here's a real different Star Wars because it's dialing in really intensely to
Mhm.
one mood.
Mhm. Yeah. I think that's been we've discussed that, but also heard those calls for genre in the past that I think would be important. Romance, big sweeping
Mm.
romantic epic. I want Kenobi and Satine in that year. I think a lot of folks want that. But I fear that if you were to say the word Kenobi, people would be like, going to the well. They're going to the well.
Well, who
Who
cares? I want to
cares?
go to the well.
Go to
I
the
want to
well.
go to that well.
Go to that well. It's a
Snicker
romantic
at my
well.
t-shirt. I
Yeah.
don't care. I
Yeah.
want to go to that well.
But yeah, so I'm with you on the genre thing. In terms of like films going forward, I think it's a murky, unclear picture for me because that's the perception from all of us looking in or look outside looking in. I think they have a clearer picture, but I think there's still some big X factors, and that includes Mandalorian and Grogu and the reception, and unfortunately, probably a little bit of the box office and Starfighter. Those are the only 2 sure things. So I'm less focused on the future of film right now because I know they are, and that will emerge for them and hopefully for us as fans.
Hmm. Yeah, I think that was the other. It was really fun to talk about the actual like, ooh, what ideas are exciting. But I also think this is a really different time for Star Wars than what you and I and Jennifer have covered over the last 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
Because when the films relaunched, there was a mandate to be like, Star Wars, Star Wars, Star Wars. We're going to have a Star Wars movie a year until
Mm-hmm.
that needed to pause. And then there was the launch of Disney Plus, and it's like, we can't get enough. Come on, come on, come on.
Right.
And then that is a matter of pumping the brakes. So I feel like Dave Filoni and Lin-Manuel Brennan need to cast a wide net, but they're facing, instead of this sort of hungry hippo, how much Star Wars can we put out, a much more, they probably have more stories, more pitches, more ideas than they can possibly tell, because there needs to be a little less, because everybody has found out the fire hose approach doesn't work. It didn't work for Marvel. I know for plenty of Star Wars fans, it wasn't too much at all, but certainly in the conversation and the general perception from larger culture was that it was too much. So I think they've got a really interesting challenge of, like, we're all excited about what new things are due, and like, well, if they're going to do that Simon Kinberg trilogy, that's there you go for film. And then they're rolling on animation. I think they have to do some live action TV shows on Disney Plus, but I think whether or not Mando and Grogu does well at the box office is going to affect whether there's going to be another season of Mando, or if they'll just greenlight another movie, or if it will kind of be a swan song for them. We don't know. But we got Ahsoka season 2 later this year, and that's, to me, that's like, Ahsoka season 2 to me is the biggest question mark in the immediate future of Star Wars, because is it designed to put a cap on Ahsoka's story, or is there an Ahsoka season 3? And is there still a movie or a big event limited streaming series to tell the tale of Thrawn versus the New Republic? Or did Filoni quietly move that movie that was announced into Ahsoka season 2? I think we'll know so much more about the future after we see what is the actual scope of Ahsoka season 2.
Yeah, and Dave, obviously sharing duties at the top with Lin-Manuel Brennan, like you said, but he can't just rubber stamp yes on anything he wants. Obviously, there's still a structure in place, as we learned with, or were reminded with the Hunt for Ben Solo, where even Soderbergh and Adam Driver get told no, it's possible. So Dave does not have a blank check. So you're right, a lot of eyes on Ahsoka season 2, even for me, just in terms of streaming, right? Like, I don't know, and maybe those more in tune to the business right now could tell us, but like, I've been wrapped up with other things in life, but like, it still doesn't seem that streaming's doing great across the board for everyone. But in some areas it is. So I just don't know what the future is in Ahsoka. Ahsoka seems, does this make sense? Ahsoka seems like the last of this streaming era, right? It was like, it's still on the books. We're still going forward with it. And then we'll see after that.
Yeah. And I think the other thing to remember is, Disney has a new head of things, Josh D'Amaro, and Josh D'Amaro might have more. It might be more of a sit around the conference table than just Dave with his Plo Koon yes stamp. You know.
Quite frankly, Joseph, you and I need to have more lunches together at Smokehouse. That's most likely where some of the meetings are going to be happening. We should probably get there with some notepads and recorders.
Just gonna pop in every day and look and see if there are any hats hung on hooks by booths, and then you'll know.
There's no other.
Then we will know.
No other big restaurants in the Disney lot area. I'm running. There's a dog house. No, that's far away. That's a fast food. There's a Don Cuco's. It's tiny. Yeah, we'll find it. We're gonna get the scoops, everybody.
Maybe they're going to make Bob's Big Boy their new hangout. We'll see.
Could be. There you go.
All right. Hopefully you enjoyed our A's. Thank you for your Q's. Those are great. Thanks, everybody. And we'll be getting to lots more. A lot of patrons have put up questions, and we'll be getting to them as we do these episodes more often. Absolutely.
And Joseph said these questions are coming from our Patreon supporters on Patreon only, not even the Discord. So even though you access the Discord through Patreon, this is exclusive to Patreon to actually get you on the app there. or get you on the site. So if you'd like to, we'd really love for you to consider supporting at patreon.com/ForceCenter. If you're a longtime fan, just thinking about it, how can you keep the show going in a good, strong way? Supporting at the lowest level gets you in, gets into the stuff here too. So we would appreciate your support or considering over there at patreon.com/ForceCenter. You can find us on social media, like we said, up top at ForceCenter Pod. You can get the podcast, which of course still on Sundays. We re-release audio versions of Databank Brawl. We had just had an episode with our good friend Jamie Stangroom on this week. Gascano got in a fight, so check that out. And you can get the merch as we said up top, and check the links down below if you're watching on YouTube. And that's it for the show. But for me, you can find me at Ken Napzok or my website, kennapzok.com. Check out my show, The Blathering Live. We go live a couple times a week. I got Blathering Conversations up and running. So check out those interviews there and all the things I'm cooking up over on that site, or part of my life, I should say. You, sir, are making moves and making films.
I am working away. Yeah. So you can follow me on Blue Sky and yes, Threads, at Joseph Scrimshaw. You can check out all the short films I've been working on. I'm making a push to put more on my YouTube channel. You can just search for Joseph Scrimshaw on YouTube. I would love to get more subscribers. I would love to get that monetized. For the last several years, I've made several short films and I've been putting them out every Thursday. Got The Narrator starring Phil Lamar. Got a new short film called The Demon's Commentary, which is about a commentary being recorded by two artists who made a movie and don't like each other, and things get worse from there. More coming out soon, so go check that out. Thank you all so much.
There you go. See you next time here on ForceCenter.